My father was Cornish, and my mother's grandparents were Cornish. And I'm the first Lightfoot of my bloodline to be born outside of Cornwall for 350 years. I've done all the family tree and that. My great-great-great-grandfather was uncle to the notorious Lightfoot brothers, who were publicly hung at Bodmin Jail in 1840 for murdering the great-grandfather of the author Neville Shute, which is not a literary claim to fame I'm proud of. But they're not directly related. He was their uncle, so you're safe. They did attract a crowd of some 10,000 people to watch them be hung.
Ooh,
they put special trains on from Wadebridge to Bodmin. I'd like to see Great Western Railway publicise that one.
yeah.
And as for a crowd of 10,000, well, there's an idea for the new stadium for Cornwall. Anyway.
That's the whole population of St Ives.
I'm passionate about Cornwall, and now it's been given minority status like Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland. It should be recognised that it's not just another county. Here's something for you to think about. I don't know whether to call this a poem or a pub quiz. Anyway, just something to think about. It's called the Cornish Nation. What's England in French? Angleterre. What's Scotland in French? L'Écosse. What's Wales in French? Le Pays de Galles. What's Ireland in French? Ireland. What's Cornwall in French? Cornwall. What's Devon in French? Devon. You could do it with a French accent. Devon. Devon. But makes you think, doesn't it? What's Cornwall in Spanish? Cornwallis. What's Devon in Spanish? Devon. What's Cornwall in Portuguese? Cornwalla. What's Devon in Portuguese? Devon. What's Cornwall in Italian? Cornovaglia. What's Devon in Italian? Devon. Now I don't even think I'm not picking on Devon, because what's Cornwall in Swedish? Corniska. What's Yorkshire, English largest county in Swedish? Yorkshire. What's Cornwall in Icelandic? Cornbretaland.
Oh, that's nice.
What's Lancashire in Icelandic? Lancashire. What's Cornwall in Polish? Cornwallia. What's the only way Essex is said in Polish? Essex. What's Cornwall in Latvian? Cornwalla. What's Kent in Latvian? Kent. Are you beginning to see a pattern here? What's Cornwall in Welsh? Caernu. What's Somerset in Welsh? Gladiahath. I don't know if I pronounce it exactly right. You see, I was just seeing if you're paying attention. But the Welsh have made the effort to have a Welsh name for each English county, which is nice of them, but then again, they always had a name for Cornwall, because Cornwall is another country, like Wales and Scotland. The Cornish nation has, unlike any other English county, its own language, Caernarvon. It even has a name for Devon. It's Doonans. Thank you. So I'll go on with this. This is called, well, I read everything that's put in front of me. I have a lot of problems if somebody puts teletext on the television and the sound as well. I tend to read the subtitles rather than listen to what's being said and that. So I'll give you an example of how I've been all my life. Does anybody speak Italian? No? Fofora. You know what that means? No? Anybody speak German? No? Schuppen. Spanish, anybody? No? Caspa. And French? Pellicule. Does anybody know what that means? All those 4 words mean dandruff. And when I was a kid, I read everything. I'd be sat on the toilet as a kid reading the back of the Head and Shoulders. And I still remember the different languages for dandruff. that's because how I am. So anyhow, this poem came about as I was stuck in roadworks on top of a hill. I'll not say where it is to protect the guilty. And I was stood there, and I was just looking for things to read, because this is what I must do. I started reading the names of a row of cottages. Middle one of 5 was called Riverside Cottage. And I looked at it and I thought, well, surely the two either side of it are nearer the river than the middle one. And the sort of person I am, when I got back home, I looked on an Ordnance Survey map to see if there was a river nearby. And there's an unnamed stream about 1/4 of a mile away at the bottom of the hill. The nearest actual river was about well over a mile away. So I thought, the houses in the row, and then there's 20 or so houses nearer the river than that Riverside Cottage. There's Bedouin tents nearer the river than that cottage. Anyway, this poem I'm going to do now, its key point is that if you're given responsibility for naming your house, you should understand that the world is full of pedants like myself, whose feelings should be taken into consideration. This is called On Naming Cornish Cottages. There is a house in Newlyn that I used to call my home. It was called Pendennis, a fine Cornish name that means castle on the headland. This Pendennis was at sea level, not really authentic I felt, but then having lived in one of 4 modern semi-detached houses called Buccaneer Cottages, it could be worse. Pendennis. Its name was marked out and hammered into the granite door frame in those little black letters that you see on Cornish gravestones. Those letters that sometimes fall off. Pendennis. I was always worried that some of the letters of Pendennis would fall off, and me not being skilled enough to replace them, despite calling myself a wordsmith, I would have to live in a house no longer called Pendennis, but Dennis. Why, what were you lot thinking of? Then I remembered in Mousehole there is a cottage that is called Nigel. As you see, it's just as you enter Mousehole on the right hand side. That's the house name, Nigel. Just Nigel, and I got to thinking that maybe Nigel meant something I didn't know, Latin perhaps, but no, it's just a male name, Gaelic in origin, just Nigel. Isn't that what we do now? Anthropomorphise everything. Who calls their dog Rover these days? Or Jip? It's more likely to be Rosie and Jim. Who calls their cat Fluffy and Tiddles now? More likely to be Florence and Tim. So why not with a cottage? Imagine calling your home Trevor. Carbis Bay. Maybe it's Trevor, maybe it's Cornish and means something else entirely, but it looks like Trevor, and I sort of like that. Giving your home a Cornish name lends it an air of authenticity, a feeling of establishment. New house becomes Shy Newith. Seaview becomes Gwellan Moor. As a rule, Cornish house names are a good thing. You're in Cornwall, embrace it. Unlike those people who like to stake a claim for their homeland, conquerors taking up the conqueror's position, or missionaries taking up the... maybe not mission. Whether it's Surbiton Cottage or Goodison Park, their home is a circle of covered wagons holding fast against the natives, a little piece of Cornwall that is forever England, or maybe Spain. Why move to Cornwall and call your house Torremolinos? Thank you.